So I've got quite a lot to go through. I've got quite a lot of acts of law to catch up with. I can't find the Assizes and Quarter Sessions Act 1908. I've just been looking at the Administration of Justice Act 1933. It does mention petition of right in there. That's when they withdraw the grand juries. I think they don't refer to the Tumultuous Petitioning Act in there at all. They don't make any amendments to the Tumultuous Petitioning Act. I think it's quite dramatic that they do the Administration of Justice Act 1933, don't make any amendments to the Tumultuous Act, which it affects quite dramatically for petitioning, because it's still in effect. But anyway, this is about Assange. So I thought it would be a good idea I'll read that Official Secrets Act, because I've never read it before. Because I thought I look at it. I know that Assange has been they wanted to extradite Assange to America, but I thought, well, if Assange had done the same crime, but in England, not American military, if it had been a similar thing, the same thing, but breaking English law, the Official Secrets Act or whatever, would he have been prosecuted or prosecutable? What would the legal situation be under English law for the similar accusation or offence? So I thought I'd have a look, and I wanted to look at what it originally was enacted as, rather than the modern version. Just wanted to see what sort of provisions they got in there. So there's this 1889, I think it is. This is the Official Secrets Act, right? An act to prevent disclosure of official documents and information. So I thought I'd read this one just to see what was enacted in it to start with, just to compare. I'm not going to read the American one, I don't want to. But it actually, in this, so there's a separate offence for... So with Assange, he didn't actually he didn't actually go and into the facilities and obtain or take a document. That was someone else, and they got punished for that. But he was given it. Now, there are a few things in the wording of this. First of all, he didn't take a document. He was given one. And in this, the offence is wording undertaking something, not being given something. Also, this does suggest in the wording that you can claim political rights under another enactment, and that you can have another political right, like the right to petition, and that immunity. The wording in this does provide for that, not blatantly, but it does. I think that it does is suggestive of that. The other thing is that also you can actually judge on what the information is, and actually if it really is that much of a big deal it being disclosed as well. That is also in here as well. Also, it says that this act shall not exempt any person from any proceeding for an offence which is punishable at common law. Well, the right to petition is not meant to be punishable at common law. After all, prosecutions are illegal for doing it. That's the argument with the High Court on common law. this is the argue with Kingsley Hamilton that I've argued that, you know, like in the Corrupt and Legal Practices Act, it's a bit different. This is why I'm wanting to find... you see, William Penn and William Mead were prosecuted at common law in the assizes in London for a tumultuous petition, although the jury said that they weren't even petitioning. They got accused of it, though. But that wasn't the proceedings by which you can... The civil proceedings that I'm trying to find now. I'm getting closer and closer to it. It looks like some of the records have vanished as well. I'm going to mention this now. I'm looking for the Courts of Civil Requests records. They get them from 1435 till 1642. But then they vanish. There aren't any more recordings. And then the Courts of Civil Requests is ended in 1846 when they create the Crown Courts, from what I've read in the Acts. 1846 is just a little bit after Parliament burned down, maybe about 10 years. But why would they just suddenly stop recording the Civil Request Courts in 1642? Well, the records have gone. Those are the records which cover from 1661 all the way after. If the Courts of Civil Request records are all missing, that means all of the 1661 Tumultuous Act proceedings are missing, because they're all civil when you do it the proper way. That's concerning. And then Parliament burns down and we lose a lot of the House of Commons petitions. That's ringing some alarm bells. I've had to draw out another map or plan of the law. And then it's strange in 1933 when they get rid of grand juries, but they don't modify the Tumultuous Petitioning Act. That's strange. And when they make amendments in 1986, they don't refer to that offence in the Tumultuous Petitioning Act either, only presenting it to the King. So there's a bit of a cover-up with that Tumultuous Petitioning Act, how it's handled. It's modified in in the Criminal Law Act 1967. It's modified, and they changed the word from courts to quarter sessions, but it was already at quarter sessions, right? So why would you change it to the courts? And then shortly after that, the quarter sessions finished in 1971 anyway, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 4 years after. It was at quarter sessions all along. But what about these assizes had civil? Now, the interesting thing about that 1846 Act is that it says all Crown Courts will be a court of record. Kind of like the Crown Courts, of which in 1971 the assizes turned into Crown Courts. It's interesting that they make them into say will be a court of record when they were already a court of record from 1483 till 1642. So something strange going on there, trying to find out these proceedings. Why am I mentioning that when this Julian Assange video? Well, because we want to find out about these common law proceedings and, you know, like in the election petition rules, special proceedings in there. So we need to know about it, actually, when it comes down to Assange, if he's got petition rights and so forth. Because this act shall not exempt any persons from any proceeding for an offence which is punishable at common law or by a military or naval law or under any act of Parliament other than this act. However, so no person be punished twice for the same offence. No person be punished twice for the same offence, but what happens if who's actually doing the offence, you know? When there's a prosecution happening, right, in this country, They say that the case shall all facts and circumstances with this same offence, right? You know, like the same facts and circumstances are meant to be brought in relation to the same event or the same, you know, it's the same kind of thing that's going on, right? So why wasn't that American military person who actually was the one who passed Assange the thing? You know, at the moment that person is giving it to Assange, right? That's like one offence and two people. You know, why aren't they prosecuted together at the same time? Well, Assange wasn't there, but it's the same offence with two people. So really, if that person gives it to Assange, right, and that's like one act or action, it's that person who is kind of committing the offence, you know? I know that publishing it might be another separate offence, but I think the Official Secrets Act offence is like when he actually gets it, but it's wording it in taking it, not being given it. So the offence under this is not. It doesn't say it's not an offence to be given it, right? If you are given something, that's not an offence. If you take it, then it's an offence. So I think it's arguable that the person who gave it to him broke the law, but he didn't take. He was given. It does provide for the 1688 Bill of Rights right to petition in here, I think. But other than that, and a few other wording discrepancies and questionable things, right? In this, it's kind of ridiculous because it talks about in willful and breach of such confidence communicates the same when, in the interest of the state, it ought not to be communicated. Well, that's it. That's the whole thing. If it ought not to be communicated. If you think that a couple of pea shooters, pot pickers, military, Navy SEAL, whatever officers pop shooting a lot of civilians down, kind of joking and smirking, ought not to be communicated, then there's something seriously wrong with you. There's something like seriously wrong with you. The fact that it almost seems like it's staged and set up, it's dubious to whether it's real. Anyway, it's almost like Dolly Parton, putting a bra up on the top of a flagpole type of thing, isn't it? And would that be, willfully revealing an Official Secrets Act of a breast size? This is the thing. That for me seems pretty joke. The interests of the state ought not to be communicated. Well, actually, right. There's one thing we've got on that, and that is the Corrupt and Illegal Practices Act. The Corrupt and Illegal Practices Act. If you have any evidence or information or data which could potentially secure prosecution or conviction through that act against someone who could be found to be committing a crime, like those soldiers, then you are a witness with evidence. That's actually evidence and witness evidence, and you can petition that, which is sharing it with the public to get some kind of help or support for an action from government. I would have thought that the 1688 Bill of Rights would have protected you under assisting offenders. If the American military or the equivalent in England, if you think that what those soldiers did could be a corrupt and illegal practice or an offence under the Military Forces Act, like illegal, and they, if it's found out, they could be prosecuted or court-martialed or whatever under the military law, then for disclosing it or attempting to get some legal action for it, then you're actually pursuing crime or criminals. I would have thought that the Criminal Law Act 1967 actually assisting offenders would come into effect, like I claimed was confirmed to be using by the judge. Well, the judge actually gave me assisting offenders before he said that I couldn't have the 1688 Bill of Rights, but he admitted that I was eligible for assisting offenders, which is quite ridiculous, really. Which that's something that I'm quite pleased with, because I think the whole thing's based on that. But, well, especially taking into account the type of case that I'm bringing, and that's the thing with Assange, really. I never thought about that aspect of it. If he is pursuing crime or criminals under English law, if we think those soldiers are actually somehow breaking the law or doing something unlawful through military law by what they did, right? Then I don't think Assange is breaking the law. Or even that other person who got prosecuted, the other person involved in it. There's a little bit of it. There's a separate offence for taking it, and then if you're outside of anywhere outside of these fortresses, arsenals, camps. The thing is, those soldiers, when they're doing that shooting, I don't think they're on their own camp. I think they're like on site at some. They're deployed, right? And they're not within an encampment or anywhere like that when they create that video. The thing is, like the civilians that it happened to, they could have talked about it to anyone anyway, so it can't be that secret. It's only really the words of the soldiers that really is an official secret, because it's not a secret to everyone who were getting shot at, is it? It's not like they found a UFO and no one knows about it, or, the Queen's got, a midget gem inside a secret box that no one knows what colour it is. It's like people were there, people were getting shot at and they knew they were getting shot at. The only thing that is secret is the actual dialogue of the soldiers. It's dubious whether, and it's dubbed over it, it's dubious whether it's real dialogue or like it's fake and then being set up for it to be leaked and then just for some stupid press, like sensationalism or whatever for the whole thing. So, I don't even think Assange knows whether it's even real or not. I would say now at this stage, if I was Assange, although this is English law, but the American law can't be that different from this, right? If this was English law, and I aren't Assange, and I haven't, I would claim, if I was, what she called is, I've forgotten her name now. Then he said it earlier on today. Russell Brand mentioned it again. Is it Cheryl Assange? I've forgotten. But no, that's RFK Jr.'s wife, Cheryl. What's Assange's partner called? I forgot. Anyway, I would, if I was Assange, I would be saying I would be using assisting offenders, immunity, pursuing crime and criminals. So therefore, you got claiming indemnity, and I would be saying that it's not even that. It's not even that bad of information to release anyway. It can be judged that it's not even that bad for the state or anything. In fact, those soldiers probably should have been, and then you have got you can have right to petition in this as well. If you've got assisting offenders and you're pursuing criminals and you want to take it higher and get public backing on it and take it to government with a grievance, then I would have thought he could do that as well. And the fact that he didn't take it, he was given it. My actual main concern, I know that they want to deal with the publication of it separate, but I don't know. The publication of it is not the Secrets Act, is it? The Official Secrets Act is separate. I think they're wanting to get him. I think the Americans want to get him on the, like the, whole kind of like, whole military espionage, constitutional law side of it. Also, why would he be prosecuted? If the thing is, right, this is the thing. This is like with some of my cases on like jeopardy of law, when I got prosecuted for putting the stickers on the speed cameras multiple times in different counties, but it was like the same thing, right? It's one and the same encompassing event, or just over a few days, but still the same facts and circumstances, The thing is, right, that I don't get what I don't get is he can't really the obtaining and then disclosure of the information and publishing it surely is all encompassing of the same facts and circumstances, right? So really, like the whole thing is one sort of like case, surely, right? But obviously he was if Assange was knocking around in these embassies and trying to evade being captured or whatever, or held accountable, while that other person was being dealt with. They should have waited. Really, I think that I think it's a bit stupid that there's two people involved in one thing, because I think it's that other person who got the data information. I forgot what they're called, but as they hand it to Assange, then it's almost like they're both in front of court for that. There's two people but one offence. But who, if on the wording of this, and I guess I'm pushing the wording a little bit on this, but it does say that take. It says take, right? If you're outside such a place and you take it, right? But he didn't take it. Someone gave it to him. He was given it. It doesn't say if you're given it. The wording on this doesn't say if you're given models, documents, data, or plans. It says if you take them. It doesn't say if you're given models, data, or plans. It says if you take them and if you're outside. So. But to be honest, it seems like you can there's quite a lot of flexibility here for looking at actually what is this material, and, can we decide that it's not that much of a, in the interest of the state, it might not to be communicated. Well, actually, it seems to me quite evident now that everyone seems to think that it was in our interest, because you've got all these thousands of people complaining to the courts and outside petitioning and on television programs, even judges in America. So I can't see how they can say that in the interest of the state, it ought not to have been communicated at this stage now, and that's really whether or not he should be charged. How could the prosecution, how could the CPS now, if it was against, if it was like in this country, if it was like, if it was under this act, how could the CPS say that it ought not to be communicated when the Prime Minister of Australia is even saying, come on now, should let him go, really, And I severely doubt Anthony Albanese will say that particular footage shouldn't have been made public or released. No one's actually scrutinising whether it's legitimate or not. That's what I'm more bothered about. It does actually say that you can use petition rights in here, and I think that means that other persons as well can petition. It explicitly refers to it. Actually, I would say that it's not like vague. I don't think that it's kind of like innuendo in it. I think that it actually means it. It says like if you got a right for another enactment and so forth, and if it ought to be revealed to the public. I think that he's covered by assisting offenders. I actually think that you're covered in that by military law, because you can have offences in the military and like military police, and then you can like pursue crimes in the military. You don't have to be a member of the military. Still like crime and offence. I mean, look at Coach House Chambers. He was like, versed in military law. I think if it was by this act, I don't think that Assange would be. I really don't think he should have been detained all this long through the Magna Carta. It's been like, to none we will deny, to none we will delay right or justice. But apparently they're going to hold him for another month. I'm not going to go read. I don't want to read the American one. There's a lot. I don't even want to look. I don't even want to read the law, to be honest, at the moment, because I'm trying to track down this information. I don't think I'm going to find the answers. I'm quite confident that Parliament was burned down on purpose by. It was arranged for Parliament to burn in the 1830s when they were forming the police force. And they're also starting to get rid of grand juries and things like that. They're taking more and more power away from the people. And then you get this corporate explosion. They even had more and more and more crime went up through the roof in the inner cities when they urbanised and industrialised. And then this is when they started getting more and more offences, into the magistrates' courts from the assizes and the quarter sessions, and they got more crime. It's almost like they manufactured it, and now they're doing it again now with all this immigration and so forth. It's happening again, and now they're wanting to bring all the surveillance in and, AI and the rest of it, and they're actually designing it. They're designing more crime, and it happened before. I think they like it. They like bad people, and they like a mess. This is the thing with Sunak. If he hadn't have kept all the money from everyone, then it wouldn't have been as much crime and poverty and so forth. It's by design, and then they're pretending that they're trying to solve the crime. Even by more offences or God knows what they're trying to. The economy, juggle, whatever. When it's just always greed, and excess that has created it. They must like a planet with lots of crime. I just think they want an excuse to get rid of everybody and just have robots serving them, But that's my opinion. But anyway, according to this Official Secrets Act, at least this version, I'm not going to read the new ones. I'm not interested in. I don't care what amendments they made to them. I just wanted to get a good idea of what they originally kind of defined it as. So I kind of thought the 1889 one would do, and that's the one that I've got on here. So, and this is after the freedom of the press in America as well. So, I don't think that Assange, if it was by this act, I don't think that Assange should be prosecuted or is even guilty. I actually think that he's protected. I don't like the press. I don't think the press should be listening to people's mobile phones, spying on people, knowing all their business. I don't think the press should be able to publish whatever they want. But on this particular occasion, on that particular thing, I don't really think the soldiers, bad mouthing and pot picking, is that bad for it makes the army look bad. But then again, people need to know about things like that, I would have thought. I think that from this, I think that it's perfectly justified in law, and I don't really think that Assange himself, I thought, I didn't even know anything about it other than, I'd seen the video. I thought that Assange and WikiLeaks hacked into the military and got that data and then published it. I didn't know that someone from the military got hold of it and then leaked it to him, and all he did is went and published it. I thought he was like some sort of anonymous hacker or something like that and did the publishing, So on that basis, I don't really think Assange. I think it's just taken out of context. I don't know what the American Official Secrets Act itself is like compared to the English Official Secrets Act, but this definitely it's more than in a sort of like other enactments and the right to petition. And I would have thought that if a better question would be for Team Assange, and I severely doubt his wife or that French lawyer that was on Russell Brand have brought this up in those proceedings or case. I severely doubt it. I sent communications to Alex Belfield in his case and got him to try use this when he was pursuing Jeremy Vine for that £1,000. But it turns out that apparently then he caved in and he said, all right, he wasn't seriously pursuing Vine for an offence. I think that military incident, firstly, there's a question on whether it's genuine or not, whether it's real or not, and whether it actually was manufactured by the military and then purposely leaked. The second thing is that if it is real, can we find anything illegal happening under military law? I don't think Julian Assange's lawyers have even explored that. From what I've seen, none of those professional American judges, I've watched like a few American justices, actual serving judges, make pleas and talk about the case in kind of detail that you would have thought was a professional legal level on YouTube. And I thought it was a bit naff, to be honest. I thought, that's crap. Firstly, we cannot. I don't know that much about military law really, but I know that like Coach House Chambers, he does because he's like a military lawyer. If Coach House Chambers, right, if he was prosecuting against those soldiers, if he could get those soldiers convicted for an offence, right, then Assange can be within pursuing criminals, military criminals, crime, and he's protected by assisting offenders, even from this as well, from this Official Secrets Act, because it'll fall under corrupt and illegal practices. What is a corrupt and illegal practice? Crime, illegal. So if they're trying to cover crime up, it's not an official secret. It's crime. Official secret is something that's not a corrupt and legal practice. It's meant to be not illegal, but they just don't want you to know about it. What colour is the Queen's knickers on today, or something like that, whatever. Or part of E.T.'s leg might not be illegal, but they might not want to know about it or something. Fuck knows. But or a new fucking Professor X machine that reads people's minds. There might not be any law around that machine because, they might have it, but they might not legislate around it yet. It's not legal, but they might have it, but not wanting to know about it. So this is the thing, or where are all these courts of civil requests records from 1642 till 1846? Where are the records of the courts of civil requests? When they were being recorded, 1483 to 1485, or 1435 to 1642, but then they vanish. Oh, why didn't they suddenly stop recording them? It's a court of records. No, it's not. In 1846, now we're going to establish a county court, so they will be courts of record. Yes, but where are the other records? We've got them up to 1642, where they vanished to, because it's just a perfect time. The perfect time that I'd be looking for, 1661 onwards, right? The civil courts, particularly courts of civil requests. Where are all the records? I'd like to hear some recordings of these grand juries and their tumultuous proceedings. But then we slowly seem to lose the grand jury in civil proceedings, which I think is the greatest atrocity of modern times. I mean, I really think that it's like The Empire Strikes Back. Elizabeth and George and the rest of them, they really were on the rebound from Cromwell the whole way. I think from it's a bit of a bouncy castle from Cromwell to 1688, but they really snuck it back. They really saw that the strength in the industrial chemical power, the industrial revolution, crime was going up through the roof. Oh, these are all bad people. Now we can all prosecute them and, treat them like scum. and no grand jury. Grand juries in civil cases really would have, the public wouldn't have put up with a lot of the things that were being done, or in the factories, millionaires splitting up with wives, just ridiculous, stupid stuff. Emma Arbuff not on her husband, they wouldn't have put up with it, and we wouldn't have had all this, council party poop, everyone's town and village with, airplane factory destroys the, council rips the trees out, all this crap, just ruining the place, people not wanting things built opposite them, all this, you could have gone straight in, taking the council to court, getting the grand jury in, but instead you get these political parties taking over with the councillors, Labour Party and Conservatives. We're being fleeced. I think that grand jury probably would have, you wouldn't have had, I think people probably would have demanded, like when people wanting planning permission, to build houses, and, like setting the prices, really expensive as well, where they're making a lot of money out of it. I mean, you could have even said, you could have been like, no, your houses are crap. We don't want none of those houses built like that. Build some better ones. And, by the way, in civil court, you could have, how much profit you're having. Well, we don't think that you should have that much profit on it. It's too much. You're making too much money out of these houses. All that. This is where we are now with, Colchester Council Watch, and everyone's running around like headless chickens. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Get a judicial review, and get a barrister, throw another 20 grand at it or whatever. Stonehenge Tunnel. But we've actually got local referendum power, which is almost like the grand jury. In fact, so. And we've got that power. They're trying to get out of it with, like, Mark Drakeford in Wales, 20 mile an hour thing, with Stonehenge Tunnel, with the Darwin Oak, with Stop ULEZ. They really don't like the people. We've had liberty stolen from us. The royal family really don't like the word liberty. I mean, they've got, like, Hertford and the liberty of... they used to call it the liberty of St Albans. Ironic that, we've got the, heart-shaped ancient site that's been built on and smashed and ruined, which really is like, when it had water flowing around it, was like a heart in a ford, and, it's meant to be like a symbol of liberty, like, they even based Liberty Island on it. And, they massacred us here with that Imperial Chemical Industries factory. And, it really is... I'm really aware now of the dark side of the royal imperialists, this bouncy castle, Cromwell, then back in again, and then, 1688 Bill of Rights. There is like some real, ongoing war, really, ongoing civil war between the freedom fighters and the royals, but the royals just want everyone to love them. It's Will and Kate Middleton, and it's all newspapers, fashion, David Beckham, Chanel, all this, doing charity work. But at the same time, they're taking away grand juries, taking away your freedoms and liberties, get cocky, clever legislation put through by, the royal subjects and servants. Message from the Queen, John Bercow, Sir Hoyle, in comes Galloway now as well, swear allegiance to the King, Charles III, and as by law, except not the law of the grand jury anymore, because we don't have it. But this is like, I'm doing separate videos now in one. So, I don't know. I mean, this is the thing. I would say I don't know what the American law is, but currently, Assange is in England, right? He's in England in prison, but for apparently, publishing something to do with the Americans and their secrets. But surely Assange's lawyer And his wife, he's got two, he's got that French guy, he's a lawyer, and his wife's a lawyer as well. I don't think that they really explored the full extent of the law. I mean, they're wanting they're specifically on extradition law, but it's not just got to do with extradition law. It's got to do with, the offence that he committed, I'm pretty certain that if you look at the American version of this, and if it's pretty much the same as ours, I think the English courts who are holding him, whether he should be extradited or not, surely it does matter what information he gave and what is the nature of it. The thing is, those soldiers, they weren't in America, were they? They were overseas anyway. So the data that got leaked, if legit, is actually more. Don't you think that's a crime against another country, a war crime against another country under the United Nations? Don't you think that's a United Nations war crime and it's our business? In our courts, under our Official Secrets Act, is it in our interests to know it? Is it in if we are a member of the UN, the United Nations, NATO and all this, right? And there's some American, we've been providing tanks to Ukraine and America, if we and the Americans are under United Nations and things that are dabbling around in conflicts, in the Far Middle East and so forth, then don't you think that it is our business? Don't you think that we've got an interest in it? Don't you think that we would have an interest in, or the United Nations would have an interest in the behaviour and conduct of American military soldiers while they're acting not in America? And don't you think it's in our interest to know? Not whether it's and also, don't you think that those people who actually were getting shot at and who got shot in that video footage, don't you think that don't you think that in the interest of the state, the United Nations, it ought to have been communicated? Don't you think that in the interest of the United Nations, that ought to have been communicated? And even them be prosecuted by the United Nations? I'm pretty sure the United Nations can bring legal actions for war crimes as well. Not just like in America, those troops when they go home, There are a lot of other elements to this. I haven't even heard one of those American judges even remotely touch that subject. All they're going is, Assange, there's freedom of the press, newspaper, and so forth. There are multiple points of law in this that I hadn't even thought about until now. You've got assisting offenders. I mean, we can give Attorney General in England, right, can put Assange under assisting offenders protection. I'll tell you what, right? Coach House Chambers could walk straight into the High Court, right, tomorrow if I give him, £500,000 or £100,000 or whatever he wants, I'm a bit struck for cash at the moment. I'll give him 50k, right? Well, as much as a Stonehenge Tunnel case, for sure. 60,000, I don't know how much he wants, right? I bet you this. If I give Coach House Chambers 60 grand tomorrow and he walks into the Royal Courts of Justice with a bit of paper in his hand and says, we're prosecuting those American soldiers under the United Nations, right? With, Jonathan M. Fuller with his, war crimes against the people he's pursuing with, like, the Met Police chief, genocide, a bit of Jonathan M. Fuller in there, he said, we're prosecuting those American soldiers through NATO, United Nations, through the European courts now for war crimes. Then Assange's evidence it is being used. So surely it would fall under assisting offenders. If that ain't in the interest of those victims either, you've got all that. So it's I don't even think they're on the same page with it, English courts can pursue that action, and actually Assange can actually be taken as a witness to give evidence, and then they can't extradite him. I ain't heard anyone been talking about those American soldiers for wrongdoing, And I don't even think that it necessarily might not even have to come under the American military laws. Those soldiers might be prosecutable under NATO or under UN military conduct laws. You've got all that as well, I mean, I wouldn't know where to start with it, but I know that, well, I am starting with it. I do know where to start with it because I've just said it now. So, but from this, it's actually this provides for Bill of Rights because it's got this is what I've been claiming with some Stop ULEZ people who are not prosecuted at common law if you've got immunities. But to be honest, this is, I mean, I'm not suggesting that people go, stealing, official secrets or whatever, but I think that if there's some kind of wrongdoing involved in it or something criminal, or the people really should or need to know about it, the wording on this definitely provides for right to petition enactment, and also it says that there's some kind of I think if something has been leaked and people do find about it, the state are going to have an opinion on it. I think that if it seems that the public reaction to it on behalf of the state is that, that it should have been, we should have known about it and it should have been released. So I don't really want to see Assange go to America because I think that he should have to go to Australia, So that's what I think now. There's so much on this. There are so many different things you can do, and I really actually am disappointed with Assange's legal team. I don't really think that they're very creative with the law, inventive, or they seem pretty much set on all. It's all about extradition. We have to do the extradition word by word by word by word. But extradition, the thing is, if Assange suddenly becomes a witness in a case in this country, how can they extradite him to America? This is the thing. Anyone. Jonathan M. Fuller's been trying to get cases open left, right, and centre through the European courts for against the governments. For and the big polluters and companies. It's no one's exploring can those soldiers be pursued and legally here, under European law through our courts, and can then Assange actually falls under usefulness to the prosecutor. The only thing with military law is usually it's I think civil private cases in military law. I don't know how often look at Tony Blair. George Galloway would have loved to have prosecuted Tony Blair. This is what Assange is doing. What Assange has done, all those American soldiers, George Galloway would have dreamed. If George Galloway would have, someone would have slipped him a video of Tony Blair. Having a pop at a pea shooter at some soldiers. He'd have jumped over the moon. If someone had backhanded George Galloway like VHS cassette, you know, Tony Blair having a go as Prime Minister, like Boris does, or Boris is pulling pints or shearing sheep, you know. If Tony Blair would have been, you know, out there, you know, with the soldiers, going, oh, do you want to go, Tony? You know, have a go? Ah, yes, let's have a go. The new statesman. Yes, I'll have a pop with this pea shooter. You know, if they'd got a video of Blair having a pop with a pea shooter, you know, and popping a few Arabs off, you know, just for target practice, and that video would have got out, then, you know, Galloway, you'd have known about that then. Galloway wouldn't have been, if it had been Assange, you would have leaked that. You know, Galloway would have had Assange straight under assisting offenders, and it'd have been straight to the European Court against Tony Blair for war crimes. But I don't see similar happening against those American soldiers. You know, they weren't in America, were they? They weren't in America at the time. You know, there's some really poor. It's so disappointing that they're locked on this tram line of, you know, extradition law. Woo woo, chugga 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 chugga. It's like Thomas the Tank Engine. You know, I'm sick of it. Extradition law. Yes, extradition law experts. Like stuck on two fucking tram lines. It's crap. It's just, you know, it lacks the imagination. You know. It's boring, you know, boring extradition laws, you know. Where's the creativity? This is it, you know. This is a problem, you know. Maybe there are some videos of Tony Blair having a go with a pop shooter at some Arabs. Maybe that's video footage well under lock and key under our Official Secrets Acts. Who knows, you know? But you know, that's the question. Maybe we've got tougher security, less leaks. You know, the mind boggles. You know, George Galloway might have a, you know, if he ended up being the Minister of Defence and he got his hands in the military secrets cabinet, he might find, you know, he might, you know. You might end up being, you know, Maurice Stanson with Jeremy Corbyn, you know. This is it. We don't know, do we? This is the thing.